Hi everyone, my name is Joe Bott and I'm a senior biochemistry major at Union College. I'm joining you today from my research lab where I work under Professor Brian Cohn. In his lab, we look at many cool things, including cells, which are the smallest unit of life, the smallest possible living thing. And specifically, we look at how these cells communicate. We look at the biological and chemical processes that occur inside of these cells, small cells. But today, I want to take a step back and ask you an important question. What exactly are living things? I would bet that you haven't taken much time to consider what exactly makes something alive and what makes something not alive. So hopefully by the end of the Zoom video, you'll have a better understanding of how a scientist might approach this problem of figuring out what is alive and what is not. So I made a PowerPoint presentation where I'd like to share with you, bear with me, where we're going to look at what are living things. So what is alive? We're all smart. We probably don't even have to think about this. When we look at this diamond, this rock, right, we would consider this not alive. Very simple. So let's look at this cute little doggy. If we ask ourselves, is he alive or is she alive? We're going to say, yes, definitely he's alive. He can bark. He can bite probably if you stick your finger too close. He can walk. He can run. And he could probably be pretty good giving some cuddles. So let's look at this character here, Baymax, his personal healthcare companion. So if you ask yourself the following question, is he alive, is he not? We might not all agree if he's alive or if he's not alive. If he existed in real life, let's consider that, he would walk, he would talk, and he even flies. But does he do other things that we do? Does he brush his teeth? Does he go to the bathroom? Does he sweat? Does he ever feel cold? Let's pause the video and just think for a second and see what you come up with if you would think that he's alive or not. So what did you come up with? Some of you may think, heck yes, he's alive, he's a robot. Why? He can walk, he talk, he fly, he just gave me all the reasons why he's alive. And some of you may think, I don't think so. He doesn't sweat. He doesn't probably, we never saw him go to the bathroom. I don't know if you'd want to see him go to the bathroom, but so here's where science comes in, and here's where scientists come in to save the day to answer this question. So as scientists, let's ask our question. So I would go out on a limb and say that the most important thing a scientist could do is ask a question or ask questions. Very important for scientists. So our question today is, how can we tell what a living thing is, or how can we tell if a living thing is alive, and how can we tell if something is not alive? So we can consider biology. Biology itself is the study of living things. A biologist studies living things and how they interact. So today, for simplicity's sake, we're going to only look at a few characteristics that biologists came up with that all living things must have to be considered alive. So let's look at the big ones. We'll look at order. So if we look at this sunflower, we see how the petals are neatly arranged. They're organized. They have order. There's a rhyme and there's a reason for them being there. We can look at energy processing. If we look at this butterfly sucking the nectar out of flowers, he's going to use that nectar. He's going to convert that, all that sugar and goodness, he's going to convert that to usable energy that he can use to fly from flower to flower, move his legs, flap his wings. And some other things we can look at. We can look at regulation. We can look at this rabbit here. We look at how large and thin his ears are. And that might be another important question to ask at some other point. Why are his ears so big and so thin? What does that have to do with? Well, I'll tell you that it has to do with regulation. He uses these large, thin ears to cool his body. We can look at growth and development. Let's look at this growing plant. It started off as a seed, and it grew up toward the surface of the soil, and it developed leaves and other limbs to soak up the sun. So let's go forward and let's look at Baymax. So when I used Miss Kitty here, we're going to compare him to Miss Kitty for this presentation. So let's look at order first. Think of this as the structure of something. Think of this, how something is put together. Like I said, there's a rhyme or reason for this being here. So let's look at Kitty Cat. She has 2 eyes. She has 4 paws. She has 2 ears. She's very symmetrical. There's a rhyme, there's a reason for her limbs being there. She doesn't have a paw growing out of her head. She doesn't have an ear where her nose would be. She's an ordered organism. So let's look at Baymax. He has a symmetrical body too. He has 2 eyes, he has 2 hands, 2 feet. He is organized. So this doesn't really help us much. Both Baymax and Miss Kitty, they have order to themselves. So we'll have to look at another characteristic that biologists came up with to define what is alive and what's not alive. So let's look at slide 8 here. Energy processing. What is energy processing? That's a big college-y term. All it means is, think of how this organism gets food. Does it get food at all? What's it do with the food once it gets it? So what's Miss Kitty doing? She's clearly eating cake. So we know that her body is most likely converting or using this cake to converting it to some sort of energy where her body can use to make her paws move, to her tongue to lick up this cake. And let's look at Baymax. How does he get energy? Well, let's consider that. How do robots get energy? Well, they get plugged in, their batteries get charged. So let's consider this a form of energy processing. This is certainly energy. He is getting electrical energy from his batteries, and he's converting it into this mechanical energy where he can move his arms and his body. So does this mean that Baymax is definitely alive? Nope. It just means that he fits 2 of the characteristics of the 7 that we need to be considered alive. So we'll have to go a little bit further and look at some more characteristics today. So let's move on to growth and development. So what is growth and development? This might seem like a very college term too, but very simple. So think about what this living thing does when it gets bigger. Does it get bigger? How will this thing change over time? So if the kitty keeps eating cake, she's certainly going to get a little bit bigger. I don't want to disrespect Miss Kitty, but she's probably going to put on a few pounds at the rate she's going. But we also know that she started out as a little kitten and she grew up into this bigger cat, this more mature cat. So let's think about Baymax. Did he start off as a baby? Was he born? No, he was built. He was built, and he never grew much from what he was built into. And will he ever get bigger or change the way he thinks or processes information? No, he's a computer and he's going to do whatever the computer code says. So does this mean that Baymax is not alive? Yes, it definitely does. He doesn't meet all the 7 characteristics to be considered a living thing. But we're scientists, we're smart people. We want more evidence. We don't want to just have one character, say he doesn't meet one characteristic and drop our hats and say he's not alive. We want to go further. We want more data to support our question. So let's go one more to regulation. So think of regulation as how this thing responds or changes with the environment. Do they change at all? So let's do an easy test, because scientists like tests, they like experiments. If we raise the temperature of the room, what happens? Well, if we look at Miss Kitty, she's going to get warm. She's probably going to find a cool spot. She's going to get a drink of water and lay down until it gets cooler. But what's Baymax going to do? Is he going to sweat? Probably not. Is he going to get warmer? Yeah. But does his body have a way of compensating for that? Does he have a way of stopping his body from getting warmer? No, he's just gonna get warm. So this is another characteristic that he doesn't meet. He's not able to regulate his body. So what did we learn today? What's our conclusion from all of this, right? So our conclusion, even though Baymax shows order and he can process energy, he is not alive because he's not able to grow and develop. He's not able to regulate himself. He doesn't meet at least 2 of the characteristics that all living things need to make. So what I hope that you learned today is learning the value of asking questions. The most important job a scientist could do is ask questions and to find answers to those questions. So I'm hoping to make more of these videos. So if you come up with any new questions or curious about a topic, feel free to reach out. I left my email in this video, bottjm1@gmail.com. And thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.